In this video, we delve into the striking relationship between Big Oil and the Trump administration, examining how former oil executives rose to prominent government positions to influence policy decisions. We will explore the sweeping rollback of environmental regulations that paved the way for increased drilling on federal lands and waters, as well as massive subsidies for fossil fuels at the expense of clean energy initiatives. Join us as we uncover the extent to which Trump catered to the oil industry, undermined climate science, and celebrated a new era of profitability for fossil fuel giants. 1. Former oil executives in key government positions. When Donald Trump assumed office, he brought with him a cadre of former oil and gas executives into key government roles. This strategic placement ensured that the interests of the fossil fuel industry were front and center in policy decisions. By appointing individuals who had spent their careers in the oil sector, Trump effectively positioned allies within the administration who understood industry needs and could advocate for them. This move was akin to letting the fox guard the henhouse, as these executives had a direct hand in shaping policies that would benefit their former employers. It was a clear signal that the administration valued industry experience over environmental concerns. This approach made it easier for oil companies to have their voices heard at the highest levels of government. 2. Rolling back environmental regulations. Trump's administration was relentless in its efforts to dismantle environmental protections, rolling back over 100 regulations. These rollbacks made it significantly easier for oil companies to engage in drilling and other activities that increase pollution. Environmentalists were alarmed as safeguards that took years to implement were swiftly undone. This deregulation spree was a boon for the fossil fuel industry, which had long lobbied for fewer restrictions. By removing these barriers, the administration prioritized short-term economic gains over long-term environmental health. The consequences of these actions are still unfolding, with potential impacts on air and water quality across the nation. 3. Opening federal lands and waters to drilling. In a move that pleased many in the oil sector, the Trump administration opened up vast swaths of federal lands and waters for drilling leases. Previously protected areas were suddenly at risk of being transformed into drilling sites. This decision was part of a broader strategy to boost domestic oil production and reduce foreign energy dependence. However, it also raised concerns about the potential damage to ecosystems and wildlife habitats. Critics argued that the rush to exploit these resources overlooked the environmental costs. The decision highlighted a stark contrast between economic interests and conservation efforts. 4. Subsidies for fossil fuels and cuts to clean energy. Under Trump's leadership, fossil fuel companies enjoyed billions in subsidies, while funding for clean energy was significantly reduced. This allocation of resources underscored the administration's commitment to traditional energy sources over renewable alternatives. By channeling financial support to oil and gas companies, the administration effectively stifled the growth of the clean energy sector. This approach ran counter to global trends that favored investment in sustainable energy solutions. The disparity in funding was seen as a decisive factor in shaping the future of energy in the U.S., with long-term implications for climate change and innovation. 5. Rolling back methane emission rules. Methane emission rules, designed to curb the release of potent greenhouse gases, were relaxed under Trump's administration. This change allowed oil and gas companies to emit more pollutants into the atmosphere without facing stringent penalties. Methane is a significant contributor to climate change, and its regulation had been a key component of previous environmental policies. By rolling back these rules, the administration aligned itself with industry interests at the expense of environmental protection. The decision sparked controversy and debate about the balance between economic growth and ecological responsibility. 6. Lifting offshore drilling restrictions. The lifting of offshore drilling restrictions was another hallmark of Trump's energy policy. This decision opened up coastal areas to potential oil exploration, putting marine ecosystems and coastal communities at risk. The move was met with resistance from environmental groups and local governments concerned about the threats of oil spills and habitat destruction. Offshore drilling has long been a contentious issue, with strong opinions on both sides about its economic benefits and environmental costs. By lifting these restrictions, the administration signaled its willingness to prioritize energy development over conservation. 7. Weakened fuel efficiency standards. In another move that favored oil companies, the Trump administration weakened fuel efficiency standards for vehicles. These standards were initially put in place to reduce emissions and promote energy efficiency. By relaxing them, the administration allowed for increased fuel consumption, benefiting oil producers. This decision was criticized for potentially leading to higher fuel costs for consumers and increased environmental pollution. The weakened standards represented a shift away from efforts to combat climate change through improved vehicle technology. It was a clear win for the oil industry but raised questions about the long-term impact on the environment and consumer finances. 8. Marginalizing climate scientists and cutting research funding. The sidelining of climate scientists and cuts to climate research funding were indicative of the administration's priorities. By reducing support for scientific research, the Trump administration diminished the role of evidence-based decision-making in policy formation. This move ensured that fossil fuel interests faced less scrutiny and challenge from the scientific community. Scientists who raised alarms about the impacts of climate change found their voices marginalized. The reduction in research funding further limited the capacity to understand and address environmental issues, aligning with the administration's focus on fossil fuel expansion. 9. Withdrawal from the Paris Climate Agreement. Trump's decision to withdraw the U.S. from the Paris Climate Agreement was a defining moment in his presidency. This move signaled a clear preference for domestic economic interests over global climate action. By exiting the agreement, the administration distanced itself from international efforts to combat climate change. The decision was celebrated by many in the oil industry, who viewed it as a victory for traditional energy. However, it also drew widespread criticism from environmental advocates and other nations committed to reducing carbon emissions. The withdrawal underscored the administration's alignment with fossil fuel companies and its reluctance to embrace global environmental responsibilities. 10. Celebration by oil executives. Oil executives openly celebrated Trump's policies, which contributed to soaring industry profits. The administration's actions created a favorable business environment for fossil fuel companies, leading to increased production and financial success. Executives praised the administration for its commitment to reducing regulatory burdens and supporting energy development. This celebration was a testament to the strong ties between the Trump administration and the oil industry. It highlighted the extent to which industry priorities were integrated into national policy, with significant economic implications for the sector.